My name is Rosetta Miles, and I am 74 years old. The day my son looked me in the eye and said, "From now on, your paycheck is mine," I was standing in my small kitchen, holding a spoon that had stopped shaking only because my hand went numb. I didn't answer him. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just looked at his face and realized something important. He thought he had already won. Before I tell you what happened next, please subscribe, like this video, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss stories like this. And tell me in the comments what country you're watching from. I want to know who is sitting with me right now. Because what my son didn't know when he said those words was that I had already decided something that would change everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Nothing special about it. The kind of day where life feels slow and ordinary. I had just come back from work. Yes, work. At my age. Because retirement never came the way people promise it will. I worked as a school lunch assistant. 3 days a week. Early mornings. Long hours on my feet. But it was honest money. My money. I lived with my son, Caleb, and his wife. I moved in 2 years ago after a fall that scared everyone. They said it was temporary. It never is. At first, Caleb was kind. "Don't worry, Mom," he said. "You're safe with us." I believed him. I wanted to believe him. Then things started changing. Small at first. Very small. "Mom, can you help with groceries this month?" "Mom, bills are high right now." "Mom, it's easier if I hold onto your card." Each time I nodded. Each time I said yes. Because that's what mothers do. That afternoon, I had just received my paycheck. A small envelope. Thin, but earned. I placed it on the table and went to wash my hands. When I turned around, Caleb was holding it. He didn't ask. He didn't smile. He just said it. Flat. Cold. Like a rule. "From now on," he said, "your paycheck is mine." I stared at him. "What?" I asked. He sighed like I was slow. "You live here," he said. "You eat here. You don't pay rent." I opened my mouth to speak. He raised his hand. "I'm not asking," he said. Something broke inside me. Not loud. Quiet. Like glass cracking under pressure. "I worked for that," I said softly. He shrugged. "And we take care of you," he replied. His wife stood behind him. Watching. Silent. I looked down at my hands. Old hands. Hands that raised him. Hands that cleaned his wounds. Hands that never once asked him for anything. "You don't need money," he continued. "We'll give you what you need." I looked up. "And what if I need dignity?" I asked. He laughed. A short laugh. "Mom," he said, "don't be dramatic." That word again. Dramatic. I felt my face burn. I felt my chest tighten. But I did not beg. I did not argue. I asked one question. "When did you decide this?" I asked. He folded the envelope. "Today," he said. I nodded slowly. "Then you're late," I replied. He frowned. "What do you mean?" I smiled for the first time in weeks. "Nothing," I said. He walked away with my paycheck. Just like that. Like it was already his. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Listening to the house breathe. Listening to my own heart slow down. I thought about all the times I had stayed quiet. All the times I had said yes when I wanted to say no. All the times I told myself, this is just how it is now. But something was different. That sentence he said. It did something to me. "From now on, your paycheck is mine." He didn't know it. But when he said that, I made my decision. The next morning, I woke up early. Earlier than usual. I dressed carefully. I packed my lunch. I kissed the mirror and whispered, "You're still here." Before I left for work, I opened my purse. Inside was something I had not touched in years. A small notebook. Old numbers. Old plans. Old promises I made to myself when I was younger. I closed it slowly. Caleb thought control meant power. He thought silence meant surrender. He thought age meant weakness. What he didn't know was that I had already decided this was the last paycheck he would ever touch. And when he finally realized what I was doing, it would be too late to stop me. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. When people hear that my son took my paycheck, they think it happened all at once. Like a sudden slap. Like a loud argument. Like a clear moment where everything broke. But the truth is quieter than that. Control never arrives screaming. It arrives smiling. I did not always live in my son's house. Once I had my own place. A small apartment with yellow curtains and a window that faced the morning sun. I paid my rent on time. I cooked my meals. I sat in silence when I wanted. That silence was my freedom. Caleb used to visit every Sunday. He would knock loud and shout, "Mom, it's me." He would bring groceries sometimes. Sometimes flowers. Sometimes nothing. But he always brought opinions. "You shouldn't be alone," he said often. "What if something happens? You're getting older." Older. That word again. I laughed it off at first. "I'm fine," I told him. "I raised you, did I?" He smiled, but his eyes stayed serious. Then came the fall. I slipped in the bathroom one morning. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to scare everyone. I sat on the floor for a long time before I stood up. My hip hurt. My pride hurt more. Caleb arrived that evening. His voice was tight. "This can't happen again," he said. I nodded. I was tired. "You should come stay with us," he suggested. "Just until you're stronger." Just until. Those words are dangerous. I packed one suitcase. One. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself I was being practical. I told myself many lies that day. The first month was fine. His wife cooked meals. They asked if I needed anything. They said thank you when I helped with the dishes. I felt useful. That mattered to me. Then the small changes came. "Mom, it's easier if you don't use the stove." "Mom, just sit down." "Mom, we'll handle it." At first, I thought they were being kind. Then I noticed something. They stopped asking. They started telling. I still worked then. I woke up early. Caught the bus. Packed my lunch. I liked having a reason to leave the house. One evening, Caleb asked casually, "How much do you make anyway?" I shrugged. "Not much," I said. He nodded slowly. "Every bit helps," he replied. I didn't understand then. I would later. Soon, he started complaining. Bills. Gas. Food. Always said lightly. Like jokes. But jokes repeated become rules. "Things are expensive now," he'd say. "We all have to pitch in." So I did. First, groceries. Then utilities. Then, just this month. I kept saying yes. Because mothers are trained too. One night, I noticed my card was missing. I searched my purse. My coat. Nothing. "Caleb," I asked gently, "have you seen my card?" He didn't even look up. "Oh yeah," he said. "I have it." My chest tightened. "Why?" I asked. He sighed. "You lose things," he said. "It's safer if I hold it." That sentence should have scared me. But I smiled instead. Because I didn't want trouble. Because I didn't want to seem ungrateful. Because I didn't want to admit something was wrong. Weeks passed. Then months. My card stayed with him. My statements came less often. I stopped checking. The paycheck incident was not the beginning. It was the reveal. After he took that envelope, something inside me shifted. I went to work the next day with a strange calm. I washed trays, served food, smiled at children. But my mind was somewhere else. I remembered a promise I made to myself years ago. After my husband died, I said, never let anyone own you. I had broken that promise quietly. That evening, I did something new. I went to the bank after work. Alone. The teller smiled. How can I help you? I took a breath. I need to ask some questions, I said. I learned things that day. Things Caleb assumed I didn't know. About accounts. About access. About rights. I did not confront him. Not yet. I needed time. That night, he came home cheerful. Dinner smells good, he said. I nodded. Yes, I replied. He watched me closely. You okay, Mom? I smiled softly. Just tired, I said. That was not a lie. Days later, he said something else. Something worse. If you're going to live here, he said, we need to manage your money better. I looked at him. He smiled. The smile of someone who thinks the door is already locked. That night, I opened my old notebook again. The one with names, numbers, plans. I wrote one sentence at the top of the page. This ends with me. But Caleb did not know. He still thought he was in control. He still thought silence meant agreement. The next paycheck was coming soon. He was already counting it. Already spending it in his head. Already confident. What he didn't know was that I had already taken my first step. And once a grandmother decides to walk forward, she does not turn back. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The second paycheck came on a Friday. I remember because Fridays were always busy at work. Kids were louder. Teachers were tired. And my feet hurt more than usual by the end of the day. But that Friday, my heart was light in a strange way. Because I already knew something Caleb didn't. When I got home, he was waiting. Sitting at the table. My envelope already open. Empty. You forgot to hand it to me, he said. I took off my shoes slowly. I didn't forget, I replied. He frowned. What do you mean? I sat down. I deposited it, I said. The room went quiet. Not the calm kind. The kind that feels sharp. You did what? He asked. I deposited my paycheck, I repeated. He stared at me like I had spoken a foreign language. But I told you, he began. I raised my hand gently. I heard you, I said. But I didn't agree. His jaw tightened. You live here, he said. We already discussed this. I nodded. We talked, I replied. You decided. His wife walked into the kitchen then. She sensed the tension right away. What's going on? She asked. Caleb didn't look at her. She's playing games, he said. I smiled faintly. I'm playing my life, I replied. That was the first time he raised his voice at me. You don't get to do that, he snapped. You'll mess things up. I felt my chest tighten. What things? I asked. He didn't answer. That night, the house felt colder. Not because of weather. Because something had shifted. Over the next few days, the pressure began. Subtle at first. Always polite. Always wrapped in concern. You seem confused lately, Caleb said one morning. Maybe you're stressed. I stirred my tea. I'm fine, I replied. Later that day, his wife added, "Maybe it's time you stopped working." I looked at her. "I enjoy my job," I said. She smiled thinly. "You don't need the stress." They started watching me, listening to my calls, asking where I was going, what I bought, who I spoke to. One evening, Caleb sat beside me on the couch. "Mom," he said softly, "I just want what's best for you." I nodded. "So do I replied. He sighed. "Then let me handle things." I looked at him. "No," I said quietly. That word landed hard. "No." He leaned back. "You're being difficult," he said. I smiled gently. "I'm being awake," I replied. After that, kindness disappeared. Not fully. Just enough to sting. Dinner plates slammed. Doors closed harder. Silence used as punishment. One afternoon, I came home to find my room rearranged. My notebook gone. My bag searched. I stood very still. Then I asked calmly, "Did you go through my things?" Caleb didn't look ashamed. "I was worried," he said. "About what?" I asked. "About you making bad choices," he replied. I felt something rise inside me. Not anger. Resolve. "I raised you," I said slowly. "You don't get to parent me." He laughed. "You don't even understand money," he said. That hurt. More than I expected. That night, I cried quietly. Not because of him. Because I had waited too long to protect myself. The next morning, I took the bus somewhere new. Not work. The social services office. I asked questions. Not accusing. Not dramatic. Just clear. "What happens when an adult child controls an elderly parent's money?" I asked. The woman looked at me carefully. "That depends," she said. "On what?" I asked. "On consent," she replied. I went home thinking hard. About consent. About silence. About fear dressed as love. That weekend, Caleb tried again. Different approach. Kinder voice. "Mom," he said, "I don't want us fighting." "I don't either," I replied. "Then let me manage your money," he said. I shook my head. "No." His face changed. Cold. "This won't end well," he said. I met his eyes. "Threats never do," I replied. That night, I heard him whispering to his wife. "She's getting stubborn," he said. "We might need help." Help? That word scared me. The next day, I found a pamphlet on the table. About assisted living. My name written on it. I picked it up slowly. Caleb stood nearby. "We're just thinking ahead," he said. I looked at him. "You're thinking without me," I replied. He shrugged. "It's for your own good." That sentence again. I folded the pamphlet neatly. Then I said something he did not expect. "You don't get to decide where I live," I said. "And you don't get my paycheck." He slammed his hand on the table. "Yes, I do," he shouted. The house went silent. I stood up. My legs were shaking. But my voice was steady. "No," I said. "You don't." That was the moment he realized. I was not backing down. That night, I locked my door. Something I had never done before. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My heart racing. I knew then. He would not stop easily. Control hates resistance. But I also knew something else. I was not alone anymore. I had information. I had options. I had decided. The next morning, I woke up to an email. From the bank. Something had changed. I read it twice. Then a third time. My hands started to shake. Not with fear. With understanding. Caleb had made a move. Quiet. Sneaky. and illegal. And now, I had proof. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I sat on the edge of my bed, holding my phone like it was something sharp. The email was short. Too short. The kind of message banks send when something important has already happened. Your account access has been updated. That was all it said. No explanation. No warning. Just that. My heart beat fast. Not loud. Fast. Like it was trying to outrun something. I read it again. Then again. I clicked the details. And that's when I saw it. Authorized user added. Name, Caleb Miles. I closed my eyes. Slowly. Carefully. Like if I moved too fast, the truth would hurt more. He did it. He went behind my back. Not with words. Not with pressure. With paperwork. I stood up and walked to the kitchen. Caleb was already there. Drinking coffee. Calm. Too calm. Did you add your name to my bank account? I asked. He didn't even blink. Yes, he said. My chest tightened. When? I asked. Yesterday, he replied. It was easier. I felt something cold move through me. You had no right, I said. He sighed. Mom, he said slowly. You were getting confused. That word again. Confused. I am not confused, I said. You forgot your password, he replied. That's not normal. I stared at him. I had never forgotten my password. You're lying, I said quietly. He shrugged. I'm protecting you, he replied. That was the moment I understood. This was no longer about money. This was about control. I went back to my room. I locked the door. I sat on the bed and breathed. In. Out. In. Out. Then I called the bank. The woman on the phone was kind. Patient. Professional. I did not authorize this, I said. There was a pause. I see the change, she replied. It was done in person. My stomach dropped. He went to the bank, I asked. Yes, she said. With what? I whispered. Identification and supporting documents, she replied. I swallowed hard. Can you remove him? I asked. There was another pause. Yes, she said. But we need to flag this. Flag. That word sounded loud in my head. What does that mean? I asked. It means we document potential financial abuse, she replied gently. My hands shook. Not because I was scared. Because I finally had a name for what was happening. Financial abuse. I ended the call and sat still. For a long time. I thought about all the times I had defended him. All the times I said, he means well. I stood up and opened my old notebook again. I wrote a new line. He crossed the line. That evening, Caleb knocked on my door. Hard. We need to talk, he said. I opened it slowly. Yes, I replied. He stepped inside without waiting. I fixed your account, he said proudly. You broke it, I replied. He scoffed. You're overreacting. I looked him in the eye. You committed fraud, I said. The word stunned him. What? He snapped. You added yourself without permission, I said. That is fraud. He laughed. Don't be dramatic, he said. No one will believe you. That sentence hit me harder than anything else. You think because I'm old, I'm invisible, I said. He crossed his arms. I think you need help, he replied. The next morning, I found another surprise. A folder on the table. Inside were printed emails. Notes. Appointments. Doctor visit, Caleb said. Memory evaluation. I felt dizzy. What is this? I asked. Planning, he replied. I looked at him. You're trying to make me look incapable, I said. He didn't deny it. You're slipping, he said calmly. That was when fear arrived. Real fear. Not of him. Of what he could do. That afternoon, I left the house without telling anyone. I went to the community center. I asked to speak to someone. Anyone. The woman who listened didn't rush me. She didn't interrupt. She didn't doubt me. This is serious, she said. I know, I replied. You need protection, she said. I agree, I replied. She helped me make a plan. Not loud. Not dramatic. Safe. When I came home, Caleb was packing. Where were you? He demanded. Out, I replied. With who? He asked. I smiled. Someone who believes me, I replied. His face changed. Fear flashed across it. Just for a second. That night, he whispered angrily to his wife. She's going to ruin everything, he said. I heard every word. I went to bed knowing something. Tomorrow would not be quiet. Tomorrow would force choices. And whatever Caleb planned next would tell me exactly how dangerous this had become. Because once someone tries to take your voice, they rarely stop halfway. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. That night, I did not sleep. Not even for a minute. Every sound in the house felt louder than usual. The hum of the refrigerator. The ticking clock in the hallway. The soft footsteps upstairs. Each one felt like a warning. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about the word the bank lady used. Financial abuse. I had heard of abuse before. I had seen it on the news. I had comforted friends who went through it. But I never thought it would wear my son's face. Around midnight, I heard my door handle move. Just a little. Like someone testing it. I held my breath. The handle stopped. Then footsteps moved away. That was when fear settled into my bones. Not panic. Something colder. The kind that tells you the ground is no longer solid. The next morning, I woke up early. Earlier than usual. I dressed quietly. I packed my bag slowly. Not because I was leaving. Because I wanted to be ready. When I stepped into the kitchen, Caleb was already there. He was smiling. Too much. Morning, Mom, he said. Morning, I replied. He poured coffee and pushed a cup toward me. You didn't sleep well, he said. I slept enough, I replied. He sat across from me. I made an appointment for you today, he said. I froze. With who? I asked. A doctor, he replied. Just to be sure. I looked at him carefully. You didn't ask me, I said. He shrugged. I didn't need to, he replied. I placed my hands flat on the table. I am not going, I said. His smile vanished. Yes, you are, he replied. The room went quiet. Heavy. You don't control my body, I said. He leaned forward. I control the house, he replied. And your money. Something snapped inside me then. Not loudly. Cleanly. You control nothing that belongs to me, I said slowly. He laughed. You think you can stop this? He asked. I looked him straight in the eyes. Yes, I said. That was the moment his face changed. Not anger. Calculation. You know, he said calmly. People believe doctors more than old women. My stomach dropped. You're trying to say I'm not fit, I said. He nodded. Not trying, he replied. I'm preparing. I stood up. I will not stay here another night, I said. He laughed again. You don't have anywhere to go, he replied. I smiled. That confused him. Who told you that? I asked. That afternoon, I went to work like normal. But my hands shook the whole time. Not because of fear. Because I knew I was standing at the edge of something big. After work, I did not go home right away. I went somewhere else. A small office. Plain walls. Soft chairs. The woman there listened carefully. She asked questions. She wrote things down. She did not rush me. This is elder abuse, she said. I nodded. I know, I replied. She looked at me gently. Are you safe at home? She asked. I paused, then answered honestly. I don't think so, I said. That was the first time I said it out loud. And once I did, it became real. She helped me make calls. Quiet ones. Important ones. I signed papers. Not dramatic ones. Protective ones. By the time I returned home, it was dark. The house lights were on. Caleb was waiting. Where were you? He demanded. Out, I replied. With who? He asked. I looked at him calmly. With people who believe me, I said. His jaw tightened. You're making this worse, he said. No, I replied. You did. That night, I slept with my door locked. And my phone charged. At 2 a.m., the shouting started. Not loud. Hushed. Urgent. I heard my name. Over and over. I sat up in bed. Listening. Recording. In the morning, something was different. The air. The way Caleb looked at me. Less confident. More rushed. He handed me a paper. Sign this, he said. I glanced at it. Power of attorney. My hands shook. You want my signature? I asked. Yes, he replied. It will make things easier. I folded the paper slowly. No, I said. He slammed his hand on the table. You're forcing my hand, he said. I met his gaze. You already did that, I replied. Later that day, 2 strangers came to the house. One man. One woman. Clipboards. Calm voices. We need to speak with Mrs. Miles, the woman said. I stepped forward. I'm here, I replied. Caleb's face went pale. What is this? He asked. The woman smiled politely. A welfare check, she said. They asked me questions. Simple ones. Clear ones. They asked Caleb questions too. Harder ones. I watched him sweat. I watched him stumble. I watched him realize something. Control is easy in silence. But truth is loud. That evening, he pulled me aside. You did this, he hissed. I looked at him. No, I said. You did. He leaned close. This isn't over, he whispered. I nodded. I know, I replied. That night, I packed my bag. Fully this time. I placed it by the door. I sat on the edge of the bed and whispered something to myself. You survived worse. In the morning, I would leave. Not running. Walking. But I did not know one thing yet. One final move Caleb had already set in motion. One that would change everything. Because while I was planning my escape, he was planning something else. Something desperate. And when I found out, I would finally understand how far he was willing to go. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I left the house just after sunrise. Not running. Not sneaking. Walking. With my bag in one hand and my spine straight. The sky was pale pink, the kind of morning that pretends nothing bad has ever happened. Birds chirped. Cars passed. Neighbors waved. No one knew I was stepping out of a place that no longer felt safe. Caleb stood in the doorway as I walked past him. You're making a mistake, he said. I stopped. I turned slowly. No, I replied. I'm correcting one. His wife stood behind him, arms folded, eyes tired. You'll regret this, Caleb added. I nodded. Maybe, I said. But I'll regret staying more. I walked down the steps. Each one felt heavier than the last. Not because I was weak. Because I was leaving behind the idea of who I thought my son was. The ride to the temporary housing center was quiet. The driver asked how my day was. I said, it's changing. He smiled and nodded like he understood. The place wasn't fancy. A small room. Clean bed. One window. But the door locked from the inside. That mattered. I sat on the bed and let the silence wrap around me. Safe silence. The kind that does not listen through walls. The kind that does not count your breaths. Later that morning, my phone rang. Caleb. I let it ring. Then again. Then again. A message came through. You can't do this to me. You're embarrassing me. Come home. I turned the phone face down. An hour later, another message. If you don't come back, I'll have no choice. That one made my chest tighten. I showed the messages to the counselor. She read them slowly. Her face changed. These are threats, she said. I nodded. I know, I replied. That afternoon, we went over everything again. The bank issue. The power of attorney. The doctor appointment. The late-night whispering. This is escalating, she said. I feel that, I replied. She asked me a question that stuck. What do you think he'll do next? I answered honestly. I think he'll try to make me look incapable, I said. That evening, I received an email. From a clinic. Appointment confirmed. Under my name. Tomorrow. My heart dropped. I hadn't agreed to anything. I hadn't signed anything. I called the clinic immediately. The woman on the phone sounded confused. Your son scheduled it, she said. He said you were forgetful. I closed my eyes. He is lying, I said calmly. And I am canceling. There was a pause. Noted, she replied. I thought that would be the end of it. It was. The next morning, 2 officers knocked on my door. Polite. Calm. Professional. Mrs. Miles, one asked. Yes, I replied. We need to ask you a few questions, he said. I knew. I knew before they even opened their mouths. Caleb had made his move. He had called them, told them I was confused, that I had wandered off, that I needed help. I answered every question clearly. Where I was, why I left, what had been happening. One officer nodded slowly. You're very coherent, he said. I smiled. I've had a lot of practice explaining myself, I replied. They left after 20 minutes. One of them looked back at me before closing the door. Ma'am, he said quietly, you did the right thing coming here. I sat down and cried then. Not because I was scared. Because someone finally said it out loud. That afternoon, the counselor's phone rang. She listened, then looked at me. He's panicking, she said. I nodded. I know, I replied. She hesitated. There's something else, she added. My stomach tightened. What? I asked. He contacted your employer, she said. The room went still. What did he say? I asked. She checked her notes. That you were no longer able to manage your affairs, she replied. I felt anger rise. Hot. Sharp. But I kept my voice steady. That's a lie, I said. Yes, she replied. And it's documented. I called my supervisor. She sounded shocked. He seemed concerned, she said. I am concerned too, I replied. But not about myself. By evening, word had spread. Not his version. The truth. Quietly. Officially. I thought that would slow him down. I was wrong. That night, I received a voicemail. His voice was calm. Too calm. Mom, he said, I'm doing this for your own good. I deleted it. Then another came. If you don't come back, he said, I'll make sure you can't work. I saved that one. The counselor listened to it. Her face hardened. That crosses a line, she said. I know, I replied. The next morning, paperwork arrived. Certified mail. Caleb's name on it. He had filed for emergency guardianship. My hands shook. Not with fear. With disbelief. He was trying to legally take my rights. My money. My decisions. My life. The counselor looked at me. We will fight this, she said. I nodded. I will speak, I replied. That afternoon, I sat with a legal advocate. I told my story from the beginning. I did not rush. I did not soften. I did not protect him. She listened carefully. Then she said something that surprised me. He underestimated you, she said. I smiled sadly. They usually do, I replied. As evening fell, I received one last message from Caleb. Short. Cold. This ends tomorrow. I stared at the phone for a long time. Then I placed it on the table. Tomorrow would decide everything. Not in a courtroom. Not in a fight. But in the light. Because tomorrow, the truth would stand where lies had been. And my son would learn something he never expected. That taking a paycheck is easy. But taking a life, that costs more than he was ready to pay. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The night before, tomorrow, felt longer than any night I could remember. I sat on the edge of the small bed in that quiet room, staring at the wall, listening to my own breathing. The room was safe, but my thoughts were loud. They walked back and forth like restless feet. This ends tomorrow. That was what Caleb wrote. He said it like he still had power. Like he still owned the ending. I woke up before the alarm. My body knew. Something important was coming. I washed my face slowly. I brushed my hair the way I always had, careful and neat. I chose simple clothes, nothing dramatic, nothing fancy. I wanted to look like myself. The advocate arrived early. She knocked gently. Are you ready? She asked. I nodded. As ready as truth can be, I replied. On the drive, the world looked normal. Too normal. People walked dogs, children waited for buses, coffee shops opened their doors. No one knew my son was trying to take my life apart with paperwork. We arrived at the building. Not a courthouse. A government office. Quiet. Plain. Official. That scared me more than shouting ever could. Inside, the air smelled like paper and old carpet. People sat in rows, holding folders, holding fear, holding hope. I held my bag close. Inside were copies. Messages. Bank statements. Notes. Proof. We sat down. The advocate leaned toward me. He'll be here, she said. I know, I replied. 10 minutes later, the door opened. Caleb walked in. He looked confident. Too confident. He wore a clean shirt and carried a thick folder. He did not look at me. When he finally did, his eyes narrowed. Like he was surprised I showed up. Like he thought I'd disappear. He sat across the room. I could feel his anger from there. Not loud. Controlled. The kind that smiles while planning harm. A woman called our names. We stood. My legs trembled, but I walked. The room was small. A desk, 3 chairs, a flag in the corner. The woman behind the desk looked tired but sharp. "Mrs. Miles," she said. "Yes," I replied. "And Caleb Miles," she added. "Yes," he said quickly. She folded her hands. "We're here regarding a request for emergency guardianship," she said. My chest tightened. I had known the words, but hearing them out loud made them heavy. She looked at Caleb. "You filed this request," she said. "Yes," he replied. "My mother is not capable of managing her affairs." I felt heat rise in my face, but I stayed quiet. She raised a hand. "We will hear from both of you," she said. Caleb began. He spoke smoothly. About concern. About safety. About forgetfulness. About mistakes. "She doesn't remember things," he said. "She makes bad decisions. She's vulnerable." Each word felt like a small cut. Then the woman turned to me. "Mrs. Miles," she said, "tell me why you disagree." I took a breath. "I disagree because it's not true," I said. "Simple. Clear." She nodded. "Explain." And I did. I spoke about the paycheck, the bank account, the added access, the power of attorney, the doctor appointment I never agreed to, the threats. I showed her messages, voicemails, emails, bank records. Caleb's face changed. Not all at once, but piece by piece. "This is exaggerated," he said. I looked at him. "These are your words," I replied. The woman read everything carefully. She asked questions. Direct ones. Hard ones. "Why did you add yourself to her account without permission?" she asked. Caleb hesitated. "She needed help," he said. "Why did you schedule medical evaluations without consent?" she asked. "She forgets things," he replied. "Why did you contact her employer?" she asked. Caleb swallowed. "I was worried," he said. The woman leaned back, her face unreadable. Then she asked one question that changed the room. "Mrs. Miles," she said, "do you want your son managing your affairs?" I looked at Caleb, then back at her. "No," I said. The silence that followed was heavy. She nodded slowly. "Thank you," she said. Then she looked at Caleb. "Do you understand that guardianship is not about control?" she asked. "Yes," he replied quickly. "Because it appears," she continued, "that control is exactly what you're seeking." Caleb's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. He said nothing. The woman stood. "This request is denied," she said. My breath caught. Effective immediately. Caleb stood abruptly. "You can't," he began. She raised her hand. "I can," she said calmly. "And I have." I sat still. The room felt lighter. Not peaceful, but clearer. The woman turned to me. "Mrs. Miles," she said gently, "you should consider further protection." I nodded. "I will," I replied. Caleb stormed out without looking at me. I watched him go. Not with victory. With sadness. Outside, I sat on the steps. The advocate smiled. "You did it," she said. I shook my head. "No," I replied. "I survived it." My phone buzzed. A message from Caleb. Short. Angry. "You've ruined everything." I stared at the screen. Then I typed one reply. "You did that yourself." I thought it was over. I truly did. But that evening, something happened that made my heart drop. Something I did not expect. Something Caleb had done quietly. I received a letter. From my workplace. Employment review pending. My hands shook. He wasn't done. Not yet. I folded the letter slowly. Tomorrow had decided one thing, but something else was still coming, and it would force me to choose whether to protect myself quietly or expose him fully. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I sat at the small table in my room, holding the letter from my job like it was something fragile. Employment review pending. Those words felt heavier than all the others that had come before. Not because I was afraid of losing my job, but because I knew why it had arrived. Caleb. Again. I had worked there for years. I showed up early. I stayed late. I never missed a day unless I was sick. Children knew my name. Teachers trusted me. That job was not just income. It was dignity. I read the letter again. No accusation. No explanation. Just a request to discuss concerns. Concerns planted by someone who knew exactly where to aim. I closed my eyes and took a slow breath. This was his last card. I could feel it. When people lose control, they reach for whatever still listens. The counselor knocked softly. "You okay?" she asked. I held up the letter. Her face tightened. "He contacted them," she said. "Yes," I replied. She sat across from me. "This is retaliation," she said. "I know," I replied. "But they don't know that yet. We planned carefully." Not angrily. Carefully. The next morning, I went to work like nothing had changed. I wore my uniform. I tied my hair back. I smiled at the children. Inside, my heart was steady. At noon, my supervisor asked me to come to her office. She looked uncomfortable. "Please sit," she said. I sat. "We received a call," she began. "I expected that," I replied calmly. She blinked. "You did?" "Yes," I said. "My son is trying to take control of my life." She looked startled. "He said you were confused," she said. I nodded. "He said that to many people," I replied. I placed my folder on her desk. The same folder I had carried for days. Inside were documents. Messages. Records. "I want you to hear my side," I said. She nodded slowly. "Please," she said. I told her everything. From the paycheck, to the bank account, to the guardianship attempt, to the denial. Her face changed as she listened. Not disbelief. Recognition. "I'm sorry this is happening to you," she said quietly. "So am I," I replied. She looked at the folder again. "We will note this," she said, "and we will not act on his call." I felt something loosen in my chest. "Thank you," I said. That afternoon, word began to move. Not gossip. Official whispers. Administrators talk. Institutions protect themselves when truth shows up with paperwork. By evening, my phone buzzed. Caleb again. I didn't answer. Then another message came. "You're turning everyone against me." I read it slowly, then typed one reply. "You did that yourself." That night, I slept deeply for the first time in weeks. Not because I was safe, but because I was no longer hiding. The next day, something unexpected happened. A neighbor from Caleb's street called me. "I didn't know how to reach you," she said nervously. "But I think you should know something." My stomach tightened. "What?" I asked. "He told people you abandoned him," she said. "That you were unstable." I closed my eyes. "And?" I asked. "And some of us didn't believe him," she said. "So we asked questions." I sat very still. "What kind of questions?" I asked. "About the bank," she said. "About the doctor. About the paperwork." My heart beat faster. "What did you find?" I asked. "There's talk," she said carefully. and not the kind he wants. That was when I understood. The truth had left the house. It was walking now. Talking. Connecting dots. Later that day, my advocate called. "You should know," she said. "Other agencies are looking into this." I nodded. "I expected that," I replied. Caleb's confidence was cracking. I could feel it. That evening, he showed up where I was staying. Unannounced. Angry. "You told everyone," he shouted. I stood up slowly. "No," I replied. I stopped lying. "You humiliated me," he said. "You tried to erase me," I replied. People watched. Staff. Residents. Witnesses. "This isn't over," he hissed. I looked at him calmly. "No," I said. "But it's no longer private." He stormed out, slamming the door. The counselor stood beside me. "You did well," she said. "I didn't plan to," I replied. "I just told the truth." That night, I sat by the window again. The city lights flickered below. I thought about motherhood. How love teaches patience, but not limits. I thought about the moment he said, "From now on, your paycheck is mine." He thought that was power. But power isn't taking. It's standing when someone tries to shrink you. The next morning, I received another letter. Different envelope. Different tone. It was from a legal office. Not threatening. Inquiring. They wanted to talk. About Caleb. About access. About intent. I folded the letter and placed it in my folder. The folder was thick now. Heavy with truth. I knew what came next. Not revenge. Exposure. But exposure changes things forever. Families. Reputations. Identities. I looked at my reflection in the window. "You ready?" I asked myself. The woman staring back nodded. Because if I went forward, there would be no pretending after this. And when Caleb realized what the truth had done, he would finally understand. That taking a paycheck was never the real mistake. Trying to erase his mother was. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The letter sat on the table all morning. I didn't open it right away. Not because I was scared, but because I knew once I did, there would be no turning back. When people start asking questions in writing, it means the quiet part is over. I made tea. I washed my cup. I folded my sweater. I did small things to remind myself I was still in control. Then I opened the envelope. The letter was polite, professional, careful. They wanted to clarify certain actions taken by my son. They wanted my side. I read it twice. Then I laughed softly. Not out of joy. Out of irony. For months, my voice did not matter. Now, everyone wanted to hear it. I called the number listed. A woman answered. Her tone was neutral but alert. "Mrs. Miles," she said. "Thank you for calling back." "You're welcome," I replied. She asked if I was comfortable speaking. "I am," I said. She paused. "Please take your time," she added. So I did. I told her everything. Slowly. Clearly. Without anger. The paycheck. The pressure. The threats. The guardianship attempt. The job call. The messages. She asked careful questions. Not accusing. Listening. "Did your son ever explain why he needed your income?" she asked. "Yes," I replied. "What did he say?" she asked. "That it was easier if everything went through him," I said. There was a pause. "And did you agree?" she asked. "No," I said. She thanked me, then said something that made my chest tighten. "We may need further information," she said. I understand, I replied. When the call ended, the room felt different, like air after a storm. That afternoon, the counselor came in smiling. You're not the only one speaking, she said. I looked up. What do you mean? I asked. Other people have come forward, she said. My heart skipped. Who? I asked. Neighbors, she said. Coworkers. Even someone from his workplace. I leaned back slowly. Caleb's story was unraveling. Not because I pushed it, but because lies do not survive daylight. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mom, Caleb said. His voice was different. Not confident. Not angry. Thin. What do you want? I asked calmly. Why are you doing this? He asked. I closed my eyes. I'm not doing anything, I said. I'm answering questions. You're ruining me, he said. No, I replied. You're meeting yourself. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke softly. I was just trying to help, he said. That sentence. That one. It almost broke me. Helping does not steal, I said. Helping does not threaten. Helping does not silence. He sighed. You could have just listened, he said. I did, I replied. That's how I know what you were planning. The call ended without goodbye. That night, I dreamed of my son as a boy. Running through the yard. Laughing. Holding my hand. I woke with tears on my face. Grief does not disappear when truth arrives. It just changes shape. The next morning, the counselor told me something important. He's trying to fix his story, she said. I nodded. I expected that, I replied. He's telling people you misunderstood him, she continued. That he was under stress. I smiled sadly. Stress does not explain control, I said. Later that day, a letter arrived. From Caleb. Handwritten. My hands trembled as I opened it. Mom, I never meant for this to go so far. I thought you needed guidance. Please stop talking to people. I folded the letter carefully, then placed it in my folder. That folder now held proof, lies, fear, truth. I realized something then. Caleb wasn't afraid of punishment. He was afraid of being seen. That evening, a meeting was scheduled. Not legal. Not formal. Family. My sister called. He wants to talk, she said. I was quiet. Where? I asked. At her house, she replied. I agreed. Not because I owed him, but because silence had already done enough damage. I arrived early. Sat at the table. Hands folded. Waiting. Caleb arrived late. He looked tired. Smaller. No shouting. No insults. Just tension. I didn't think you'd go this far, he said. I looked at him. I didn't think you'd take my life apart, I replied. My sister watched nervously. I was overwhelmed, Caleb said. I needed help, I replied. You should have trusted me, he said. I trusted you with everything, I replied. Silence. Heavy. I thought you'd forgive me, he said. I shook my head. Forgiveness is not the same as surrender, I said. He stood suddenly. This isn't fair, he snapped. I remained seated. It was never fair, I replied. He left. Again. As I drove back, my phone buzzed. A message. From an unknown contact. We need to talk about Caleb. My heart dropped. That message meant one thing. Someone else knew something. Something I didn't. I pulled over. Stared at the screen. Then replied. Yes. Whatever was coming next was bigger than just my paycheck. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I sat in my car for a long time before replying to that message. We need to talk about Caleb. Those words don't come from nowhere. They come from people who have seen something. Something heavy. Something real. I finally typed back. Where? The reply came fast. Tomorrow morning, coffee shop on Pine Street. That night, I barely slept. Not because I was afraid, but because I felt it in my bones. Everything was about to surface. In the morning, I dressed slowly. I chose the blue sweater I wore on my first day at work years ago. Not for luck. For memory. For strength. The coffee shop was quiet. Sunlight came in through the windows. A woman sat in the corner, hands wrapped around a cup she wasn't drinking. She looked up when I walked in. "You're Mrs. Miles," she said. "Yes," I replied. "I'm Dana," she said. "I work with your son." We sat. She took a breath. "I didn't know how to reach you," she said. But I couldn't stay quiet anymore. My heart thumped. "Tell me," I said gently. She told me about conversations. About complaints. About money missing. About how Caleb spoke about me. "He said you didn't understand finances," she said. "That you were confused." I nodded slowly. "But he also said something else," she added. "What?" I asked. "He said once everything was under his control," she said. "You wouldn't need to know anymore." I closed my eyes. That sentence confirmed everything. Dana slid a folder across the table. "I shouldn't be doing this," she said. "But it's wrong." Inside were copies. Emails. Notes. Patterns. I didn't cry. I didn't gasp. I felt calm. "Thank you," I said. She nodded. "I'm sorry," she replied. By the time I got back, my phone was buzzing. Messages. Missed calls. Whispers moving faster than I ever could. The counselor read the documents carefully. "This explains a lot," she said. "I thought so," I replied. Within days, Caleb's world began to shrink. Not loudly. Quietly. People stopped returning his calls. Meetings were postponed. Questions were asked. He called me late one night. I answered. "What do you want from me?" he asked. His voice was tired now. Not angry. Not strong. "I want my life back," I replied. "You've taken everything," he said. I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. "No," I replied. "I took back what was mine." He was silent. Then he said something that surprised me. "I didn't think you fight," he admitted. That hurt more than anything else. "You raised me," he added quietly. I swallowed. "And I raised myself again," I replied. He never called after that. Weeks passed. Then months. I moved into my own small place. Nothing fancy. But peaceful. I still worked. I still smiled. I still woke up with purpose. Caleb moved away. Not announced. Just gone. People talked. Not cruelly. Truthfully. "He tried to control her," they said. And she stood up. One afternoon, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea. The sun was warm. The air was quiet. I thought about that moment. The moment he said, "From now on, your paycheck is mine." He thought I would bend. He thought age meant weakness. He thought love meant silence. But love also means boundaries. And strength doesn't fade with time. It sharpens. I don't hate my son. I don't wish him harm. But I will never let him erase me again. Because this life, this voice, this dignity, was never his to take. And if you're listening to my story right now, If you've ever felt small, if someone tried to control you because they thought you were weak, hear me clearly. You are not late. You are not powerless. You are not done. Sometimes, the strongest thing a mother can do is stand up, even to her own child. If this story touched you, please subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell for more emotional stories like this. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Somewhere out there, I might be reading.